Hello, everybody. What's up? And how's it going? This week, we welcome you to episode 17 of a weekly patch notes. I'm your host for this episode, Max, and with me are Kojo. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. What's up?
Good. And Thamziri. How you doing?
I'm good, homie. I'm good. Thank you very much.
No problem. As always, our social media handles and links are in the description, so you can't miss that. Alongside these are links to any article or information that are relevant to the episode. With all that said, it would be great of you guys to like, subscribe, and follow X to skip. Any and all support is welcome. Now, let's get into some gaming tidbits. So, of course, let's start off with admin and announcements. Do you guys have anything you would like to share?
I do not. No, not at this very moment. Kojo?
Or how was your weekend away? You can speak on that.
Oh damn, yeah, no, my weekend was lit. Well done on the episode. You guys spoke about some juicy bits. So yeah, no, it was very relaxing. Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
And Kojo?
No announcements that I can think of.
All right. For myself, I just want to say that last week I was binging on some Patrick CC. For the listeners out there, you should check him out if you don't know who he is. And this week I've been binging on Beard Meets Food, Super Eye Patch Wolf, and some bad English dubs of DBZ. Have you guys heard of Beard Meets Food?
Yes, I have. My brother and I watch him.
Yeah, Kojo, what do you think?
No, he's awesome.
Very
He's really
wholesome
cool.
guy. Like,
Yeah.
when I saw it, I'm like, how have I not heard of this guy? Like, he's been around for years.
Yeah, he's been around for years. Yeah.
You should check him out. He's a dude that goes around doing eating challenges between the UK and the US.
I bet I'll check it out.
Yeah. I also watch a guy called Eric the Electric. He also does these like calorie challenges, like eating 50,000 calories in one day and things like that. So, yeah. You know, he's a cool dude, Eric the Electric. He's a cool dude as well. I like watching these people do, food stuff. I don't remember Max, there was a time where I was craving Krispy Kreme and I was watching a guy eat 100 Krispy Kreme donuts. Yeah, it was the same guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guy. But yeah, that's...
Yeah. All right, then. With those admin and announcements out of the way, let's get into the gaming news, and I'll start us off. So, I want to begin with talking about Redfall. However, before I do, I want to check, Kojo, do you have tidbits about Redfall?
I was going to leave Redfall for the discussion period, but...
Oh, you see now, I wanted to talk about Microsoft / Xbox in the discussion period because that links with Redfall. So I was thinking of building a case before talking about Redfall and then getting into the juicy bits in the discussion area, talking about the bigger picture, which is Microsoft.
Yeah, I was going to also talk about that. I was going to squeeze all three of them together in the discussion. But yeah, you can talk about Redfall now.
No, I just wanted to check if you have it for the gaming section, because if you do, then I'll keep it off for the gaming section and add tidbits here and there. But if you don't have it for the gaming section, then might as well get into it here.
Oh, no, Redfall is all yours.
All right, no, you can add if you want to. I just want to talk about general stuff with you guys. Like, it's not me announcing stuff, it's just actually having a discussion with you guys. Tammy, I don't know if you've been seeing the fallout with Redfall.
No, I have not.
You've been missing out on quite a bit. Like, that's dominated the news this week. So, all right, if we're gonna get into it now, Kojo, you can add tidbits here and there where you can spice things up, and I'll get into it. So, the first thing I want to say with Redfall, the Metacritic rating, Tommy, it came out as last I checked it, I believe it was today. Last I checked it, it was standing on 59 score, which is not great at all, especially for a AAA game that was being anticipated. And obviously with such a low score, and the user rating, I believe was it 1.8 or 3.8? It was in the red and it was 0.8. That's what I remember. That I don't remember if it was 1 or 3, one of the two, but it was in the red zone. So the reception to the game has been very negative from everyone. You've got PS fanboys clowning Xbox fanboys, and you've got Xbox fanboys who are like, a lot of them are being very realistic about the situation, saying, nah, this is not great. But some of them are like, no, it's a fun game and whatnot. It's like, and I feel in that situation, you just have to say, it's fun for me. It's probably not objectively fun, but I'm able to derive enjoyment out of it. And there was also fan reaction against early testers. I don't know if you guys know about this, but there were some people who got a chance, an opportunity, as with most games, to go out and play the game before it came out. When it was on Arcane flies these people out, they get to play it. I would mention YouTubers by name because I love dropping names, but I forgot who they were, so none of them come to mind, and I don't want to waste time trying to research them. So I'll just generalize and say there were YouTubers who got to, and I suppose streamers as well, Twitch streamers who got to play the game, and they reported back saying, yeah, the game looks amazing, it looks great, everything is going to be great about this game. And now people are lashing out to those guys because, like, you guys are full of shit, you're just out there lying, like dick riding pretty much. And that led me to think of, that's the main problem with these opportunities where companies fly out individuals to try a game. You will never, ever get somebody who is going to be straightforward about it. Even if they do say negative things, they'll try and counterbalance the negatives with some positives because they want to be invited again in the future, or they want to stay in the good grace of these companies so that, they can get future opportunities and stuff like that. For me, when somebody is flown out to try out a game, it's a red flag where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to trust your judgment of this thing. I'm just going to wait for the game to actually come out and hear the feedback of people who weren't shepherded into the ecosystem where they have something to gain or something to lose from what they say. People who just talk freely. I prefer the reviews of such individuals, not the ones who are high up there where they could potentially burn bridges if they say the wrong thing. So this also, I want to tailor in my expectations of a game where I'm not even surprised. Like, I think every time we mentioned Redfall in the past weeks, I would always say, yeah, I don't believe in this game. Like, from day one, and Kojo, you can attest to this, day one when they showed the clip on that Microsoft Xbox showcase from, when was that? Was that 2021 or 2020?
I think it was 2021.
Yeah, well, I was like, this game does not look that great. And remember, I won't use names here because I don't know how they feel about their names popping up, but remember, Kojo, there were Xbox friends who were excited for this game, and I was just like, yeah, I've got my doubts, and they were calling me a hater. Then when Game Clip came out, they were like, nah, this game doesn't look like it's it. And I was nah, guys, let's give it a chance, because the premise of it never appealed to me, but I was just like, whatever. But anyway, then with that, we've got the Phil Spencer interview with, who was the podcast channel that he was on with, Kojo?
Kind of Funny.
Yeah, Kind of Funny. That's the one. So he spoke about, candidly, I guess, to give him credit, but at the same time, I also feel like, what is he supposed to say? He can't double down. And I also feel like people are going to call me a hater, but maybe you guys can give your take on this. But I feel Phil Spencer is very good at media control. He's very good at public speaking in the way of getting people excited, managing negative reaction and stuff like that. Like, he says all the right things, but you need to look past what he says and look at the end results. And the end results are never what he promises. Like, we've got, how long have we been spoken about Avowed? How long have we heard about Fable? How long have we heard about Perfect Dark? Like, we've got so many studios under Xbox. Or what's that other game which had that garden scenery thing, and then they pivoted direction they were going. I don't remember. Everwild, that was the one. Yes. Like, there is so many. Like, we'll be told like 15 games, and of those 15, maybe 3 of them are going to see fruition. And ones that see fruition are very small budget type games, like AA games. And I've got nothing against AA games. I enjoy AA games. But you know, the AAA games are the stars of the show. We don't get to see the AAA games. So in as much as Phil Spencer was being candid about the situation and saying he takes the blame, it's unfortunate how things turned out. That's not what they wanted. They were also surprised about it and all of that stuff. I think it's just damage control. I don't think it's really being candid and open and straightforward. It's just, it's an L. I need to take this L, and hopefully we can move on. Because he's made a comment about how the game was too far in by the time Microsoft acquired Bethesda. And I call bullshit on that. Because like we said, it was announced in 2021. If they got a chance to see it, and if they didn't like what they saw, they didn't need to announce it. It could have been getting worked on behind the scenes. It was announced on their circumstances, on their grounds. Because I was looking back and I saw that the acquisition was finished in February of that year. The showcase was June of that year. So you have all of that month to look at the game and be like, nah, let's take a pause on this game and focus on other things. I think the reality of the situation is they probably really wanted to sell the idea of the acquisition and like, let's just announce these games and get people excited. And that's what leads us to this point. Because it's always the same with Xbox, is let's announce these things and get people excited. And then when things come around, it's not that exciting. Hence why Hi-Fi Rush was such an exciting prospect, because there was no build up to it. It came out of nowhere. So people couldn't place any expectations or things like that onto the game. It was there and it spoke for itself and it did well. And I feel that's something Xbox should look towards, of dumbing down the hype. Let the games speak for themselves. Don't oversell the games, and then when we finally get our hands on them, we have this less than lackluster product. So going forward, I just wanted to say that it puts a lot of pressure on Starfield. My Starfield expectations have been lowering with each game or situation released by Microsoft. Like at the beginning, I was like, nah, Starfield's going to be a hit. Yes, it's going to have your typical Bethesda buggy mess and all of that stuff. But the more they delay this game, the more they stay quiet about this game, the more we don't get to hear anything, and the anticipation starts building up, the more I start getting worried, because I'm just like, yeah, this might not end well. Like, I would like the game to do well. Like I've said this many times before, I really want Starfield to do well. And we've gotten to a point now where Microsoft needs a dub somewhere. And all eyes are turning on Starfield, because they've been struggling to get dubs on the AAA side of things. Their AA side, they've been doing pretty well. And it's generated talks of what people can, what Microsoft can do, because Phil Spencer also had a mention about they're not competing with Nintendo, they're not competing with Sony and all of that stuff, where I agree with him, they're not. And it's not because of a lack of trying, it's because they're headed in different directions. And I completely believe that. But is Microsoft putting all their eggs in one basket, hoping the direction they picked correct? Or are they experimenting with other things on the side, hoping for something to click, and then they might double down on that? Because I'm thinking maybe them conquering the AA space could be an avenue, because they're doing very well with AA games. That's something Sony has been struggling or failing to do with. Of course, we also have the live service side of things. Even Microsoft is trying to get into that. We'll see who does better between Sony and Microsoft. I don't think Nintendo's even remotely interested in that. But yeah, that's said quite a lot on Redfall, even though this isn't the discussion section, but it's what's been dominating the week. I've been watching other YouTubers talking about it, guys like Legacy, Killer HD, things like that. There's another one, another two other guys. I'm forgetting their names. I would like to name call them, but because I'm forgetting, it is what it is. You guys have anything to say to that, or anything to add before I start moving on to the other things of the news?
No, I'll go to mine.
I'll leave it to the discussion. So yeah.
All right, no problem. All right, so moving on to the next news. Earlier in the week, a Twitter account subscribed to Twitter Blue uploaded the whole Mario movie, and 9 million people on Twitter were able to watch the movie before Twitter finally took the movie down and suspended the account. This was made possible because in Musk's infinite wisdom to try and make Twitter Blue more appealing to the masses, those with Blue subscriptions can upload bigger and longer videos. Specifically, they can upload up to 1 hour videos under 25 gigabytes. So this rare hero uploaded the movie in 2 parts. I'm no fan of Blue, but if it's used to stick it to the man, I can applaud the people who utilize it. And then the Gran Turismo movie trailer is out, if you guys don't know. Normally, I would mention this in the news blitz, but that section doesn't give space to air out thoughts, and I just wanted to give my take on this trailer. So, the movie looks much, much better than I thought it would, where the movie premise is actually a decent premise. The only complaint I have is that it looks like an attempt at a cliche Hollywood movie. By that, I mean to say it looks like it's trying to tick movie cliche boxes, where some boxes I saw in the trailer were have a romantic interest for the protagonist, have a rival character for the protagonist, have an underdog story, etc., etc. Now, these don't necessarily make a movie bad, but they're lazy tropes that might bring things down, as we've seen hundreds of movies utilize the same thing. The trailer states that the movie is based on a true story, but don't take that to heart. It's more so loosely inspired by true events, and effectively heavily fictionalized. So my first impressions are that this movie looks far better than I initially expected, but it won't go beyond that, because it defaults on ticking off tried and tested tropes instead of beating its own path. I'm open to being wrong, but I'm hardly ever 90% of the time, so I think this is going to be one of those type of movies. And that's pretty much it for the news section. Do you guys have any news you would like to share?
No, not that I can remember.
I do.
Please go ahead.
So it was announced recently, just recently, on May the 5th, I believe. PixelOpus, who many people know as a Sony studio, mostly known for their work on Concrete Genie, came out with a tweet and surprised everybody. And this is what they said. Dear friends, our PixelOpus adventure has come to an end. As we look to new futures, we wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the millions of passionate players who have supported us and our mission to make beautiful, imaginative games with heart. We are so grateful. So, for those who don't know what this means, it means the studio is shutting down, which came as a shock to a lot of people. And it's always sad to see a studio shut down. You know, a lot of employees, our former employees, came out and were speaking about it and saying, we hope everybody lands on their feet. We were working on something cool and stuff like that. And this is what Sony had to say. PlayStation Studios regularly evaluates its portfolio and the status of studio projects to ensure they meet the organization's short and long-term strategic objectives. As part of a recent review process, it has been decided that PixelOpus will close on June 2nd. Now, I think, with, first-party games and, people always hopping over, Sony needs first-party games, everybody needs first-party games. I would think that Sony will try and keep as many studios as they can instead of shutting them down. They also shut down Japan studios. a while ago, and now they shut down PixelOpus, and it's a shame because I haven't played Concrete Genie fully. I have the game, but I haven't touched it because reasons. But I remember playing it at a convention, and I really enjoyed what I played. And I was like, this is a very imaginative game. I want to play more on it, And it sucks because I would have liked to see what these people were working on next. It says that they were working on an untitled project in collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation, but we don't know what's going to happen with that project now. So yeah, I just hope everybody lands on their feet. Maybe they can go and form their own studio somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, it's sad news. It really is sad news when that happens.
Yeah, I would like to add to that because I was going to mention PixelOpus, but I was going to mention it in the news blitz, so might as well give my thoughts here. I just wanted to say that I also think it's a shame, largely because it's a AA studio. So as much as AAA games drive sales and gamer attention, I still find AA games enjoyable here and there. And I think with what you said about Sony shutting it down, I think Sony is trying to consolidate all of their studios and be like, okay, each of them need to have like a hard hitting game attached to their name, like your Santa Monica Studios or your Naughty Dog or your House Marquee, stuff like that, where the studio is almost like a brand in itself. And I think that's a shame because I think Sony really struggles with AA games. And like you said, with that previous studio they shut down, was it Japan Studio, was it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That was also, I believe, they made AA games as well. And that's what I'm noticing, that Sony is shutting down studios that are making AA games. And I wish that wouldn't happen so that we can get more AA games. Because as fun as AAA games are, they're largely cut and paste experiences that rarely do things differently. Whereas AA games are the ones where we actually get to try something different, something new, thought experiments and stuff like that. Which also led me to feel that I wish we could get, I wish AA studios would be given different metrics and sales expectations than the AAA studios. Like, for example, Little Big Planet is a game, an IP Sony sort of has on its backhand, but they're not really doing much about it. Same with Sly Cooper, same with Jak and Daxter. Like, Sony, have these IPs that people are interested in, but they're not really heavy hitter IPs. They're not going to be getting massive sales. They're going to be getting lower sales, but I don't think anything is wrong with that. If you manage the studios running them and if you manage the budget and all of that, I think we could be getting these type of games and getting an opportunity to enjoy them. But it also has me thinking that it would be nice if we were able to no, that's a different topic. I'll bring that up later. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say with regards to that. So with all of that said, let's move on to the gaming corner. Kojo, please take it away.
Okay, so let's start off with the releases of the week. First off, we got a game called Age of Wonders, released on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC, released on May 2nd, 2023, currently sitting at an 83 on Metacritic. We have the big one, Redfall, released on May 2nd, 2023, released on Xbox Series and PC, currently sitting at a 59 on Metacritic, which, based on all the reviews and everything that I've seen, all the dire reviews, 59 is higher than I thought. Like, that's just, I thought it would be in the red, but I think 59 is actually pretty high. We have a game called Grindstone, released on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, on May 3rd, 2023. We have Super Dungeon Maker, released on PC and Switch on May 3rd, 2023. We have a game called Ravenlock, released on Xbox Series, Xbox One, PC on May 4th, 2023, currently sitting at a 68 on Metacritic. And then we have the Dark Pictures the Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan, making its appearance on the Nintendo Switch, released on May 4th, 2023. And we have Hogwarts Legacy making its appearance on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which I thought it already did, but I guess I was wrong. Released on May 5th, 2023. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the Gaming Corner. Anybody else have any Gaming Corner stuff?
Yes,
Nay.
I do.
Okay.
Did you guys see that announcement trailer or reveal trailer of a game called Chrono Odyssey?
I knew you were going to say Chrono Odyssey. I was just waiting for
Yeah.
it. I was just waiting for it. Yes, I did. And it looks too good to be true. But what do I know?
That was my exact reaction as well. I was just like, this thing looks too dope.
I was watching a Twitch streamer called Co Carnage, and he said he watched it. It was actually recently, and he watched it. And he said something which I agree with. And he was like, the one flag that he has is that it's an MMO. Not that he hates MMO.
And I was going to say that as well. Yeah. I also, because I saw that as well, where I was getting excited. I was like, no, this looks too good. And it's by a studio I've never ever heard of. Like, nah, they're selling us dreams. And then I saw the MMO RPG part. I was just like, there it is. Okay, so this is like probably a visual of what they hope to achieve. But when the game actually operates, it's going to be nothing like this.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Because, and he's right, there's a lot of baggage that comes to the term MMO. But we'll see. We'll see how this one goes.
But I also saw a comment in the YouTube section where somebody was clowning the game, saying that this game has gone through so many different iterations where it was one genre, then it jumped to another one, where finally it's landing on the MMORPG. And if there's any truth to that, that's also another red flag, where clearly these guys were over ambitious and they still don't know what they're trying to do. And only now, when they're releasing it to the public, it's like, yeah, okay, this is what we wanted. You know what this gives me vibes of?
Anthem.
No.
What?
Biomutant.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
But all right, no, let's keep things moving. So everyone, we hope you're enjoying the show. We hope you're still hanging around. And we would greatly appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe and follow so we can get this show to more people. I'm your host, Max, and with me, as always, are Kojo and Tommy. So let's keep things moving along. Now, next section, we've got Twitch and YouTuber news. Guys, please take it away.
All right, so for the content creator side, I don't actually have news. Something's still brewing, so I'm gonna wait until it's completely finished, and it just has something to do with iDubbbz, the content creator, not a streamer.
Is it the Froggy Fresh stuff?
It's exactly that, yeah. So I'm gonna just wait till it's just see what happens. Then I'll deliver that.
I heard some weird stuff going on with that person a couple of weeks ago, where people are arguing, followers are arguing amongst themselves about whether the person has fallen off or not. I accidentally got into watch a video about it because when I saw iDubbbz, I was thinking of the music artist from way long ago, and I was like, what? This person is still relevant? I wonder what they're doing. Only to see that no, it's a content creator. I was like, oh, okay, wrong thing.
Yeah, it's probably
iDubbbz was the guy behind the Creator Clash.
Yeah. Yeah, so just to give you guys a brief for those who don't know, obviously I'll cover it in the next episode. But it's essentially with regards to the Creator Clash, there was a fighter that was meant to be a part of the whole entire thing. But then the things he was basically just like, okay, when fighters get together, or you know who your opponent is, of course you're going to talk smack about them. You want to prove that you're going to win. You're going to be the big boss out of all of this.
Also, it's also a marketing ploy to get more eyes on the fight, so your revenue can be higher because more people are watching.
Exactly. It just so happened though that one of the fighters then made a pass at iDubbbz, as well as iDubbbz's Is she a fiance? I think she's still just a girlfriend.
Oh, that is the stuff which I heard about weeks ago, where people were, yes, no, this links up because the fan base were talking about how he's fallen off and he's not the same, and the typical fan stuff of your content's not the same, you've changed up, and a lot of people were talking about his girl or whatever she is to him, where they were linking that and saying that ever since she came into the picture, he's been different or stuff like that.
Yeah, so it all started like way back when Anissa created an OnlyFriends account, and that's just been the venture that she has been going on. So then a lot of people kept calling iDubbbz I don't know if it's a bad word, but
you tried to find
a C-U-C-K, C-U-C-K, let's just say it like that. And like
they've made to spell stuff out.
Yeah, you can spell it out, just don't say the word.
So I can spell out the opposite of unalive, or the proper word of unalive.
Yeah.
Or that guy's salute from Germany. I can spell that regime.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was any mention, even spelling, will get you flagged.
Nah, I don't think the bot is that smart. I don't freaking know, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, that's essentially the issue that's happening right now. So iDubbbz has released a response, to it after trying to remove that fighter, from the competition as a whole because of what he said about Anissa, his girlfriend. So yeah, once that is fully uncovered, because I want to squash everything into one, just so that you guys have a full piece of it, so that we don't,
let's keep it for when things are resolved, because I did see some of this stuff. I didn't really think it was that relevant, although I agree with the people clowning him, but we can keep that for when everything is wrapped up, so we can talk about it retrospectively as opposed to in the moment where anything can change.
Exactly. So yeah, that'll be it for me then. Kojo?
Yeah, I just have one thing. Everybody's favorite queen, or I guess one of the queens of Twitch, Amouranth, was banned on May the 4th, I believe.
The power wasn't within her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really wasn't. And 24 hours later, she was unbanned. And a lot of people don't know why she was banned in the first place. Pardon?
Saying maybe she did have the power.
It was It was
the revenge of a Sith.
Yeah. It was a good one. It was, there's nothing much to it other than that. It's just a lot of people are speculating why she got banned, and for her to be unbanned 24 hours later, people are speculating that maybe it wasn't that serious, that type of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it from my content side.
Yeah, Twitch needs to start being open about why people are getting banned, because all of this speculation stuff is just nonsense. Like, why should people be speculating over the reason somebody is getting banned? Like, it should just be straightforward that you're banned, here's why, have a good day. If you want to dispute it, the channels too.
I agree.
Yeah.
But all right. I don't have anything to share in that section. I rarely do. So let's move on to esport news. Tommy.
Oh wait, so guys, a game I really hold close to my heart. The League of Legends MSI 2023 is now, it's been running since the 2nd of May. So that's where my attention is going to be purely focused, because generally with the MSI, as well as the summer and spring splits, through those competitions, you'll definitely start to see who's going to end up in the World Championships for League of Legends. So I'm very much excited with that. So currently, as it stands, G2 Esports and BLG have moved up to the bracket stage, with the rest of the teams fighting for the last spot. Rainbow Seven and Loud, two new teams I've never heard of in my life, they were set up for Miracle Run to get out of play-ins for the first time in history for their regions, but both teams were completely shut out in a 0-2 loss. PSG Talon will face Golden Guardians for the final spot at the next stage of MSI 2023. So MSI is one of the biggest international competitions in all of esports, not just League, with many gaming enthusiasts, aficionados watching it almost every single year. I've missed, I think, 2 years. Yeah, not consecutively, but I've missed 2 years where I just didn't focus on MSI at all. But this new MSI, I'm going to be focusing mainly on the team composition. Who are the new teams bringing in? Who's going to be a threat likely for the World Championship? So this event is all about fueling the regional rivalries at the best teams from each region that will go head to head, vying for the prize money and the glory that comes with it. So yeah, for this year, Riot Games has decided to expand the format, however, increasing the number of teams from 11 to 13. Now, this was interesting to me because recently we had heard that TSM will, they've already left the Rainbow Six League, and it's just interesting to see now, what will the final leg of TSM's League of Legends team be like? Are they even going to make it to World Championships? Who knows? We've already been seeing like a lot of news that's been happening with TSM in the first place, right? So after the completion of the spring split, which was earlier, League of Legends fans are now turning their focus to the first international event of the year, being the MSI. So it's going to be seriously amazing to see what's going to happen. The next headline will be on May 9th, whereby we will see the likes of the LCK pair, T1 as well as Gen G face off each other when the bracket stage begins. So stay tuned on League of Legends YouTube channel if you're into League of Legends and watch the MSI. And yeah, let's hope it's going to be a super fun time. That's all from my side.
Thank you for that, Kojo.
Just a few things. First off, the Call of Duty Majors, or Major 5, is underway. Began on May the 5th, 2023, and will run up until the 28th. But right now it's the qualifiers, and the teams are trying to qualify for the LAN tournaments, which will take place from May 25th to May 28th. And it will be hosted by Toronto Ultra in Toronto at the Madame Athletic Center. So it's the majors are something that I tune in every now and then, time to time, and then when the actual LAN comes in, I try to watch it. So it ought to be a good time. Yeah. These are the competing teams. You have Atlanta FaZe, Boston Breach, Florida Mutineers, London Royal Ravens, Los Angeles Guerrillas, LA Thieves, which won the Major 4 tournaments, which I spoke about last episode, I believe. Minnesota Rocker, New York Subliners, Optic Texas, Seattle Surge, Toronto Ultra, and Vegas Legion. And the first place prize pool is 200,000, and the overall prize pool is 500k. So about what you expect for esports tournament, and normal one. So yeah. Second up, speaking of Toronto and Call of Duty, the first ever women's Call of Duty team has been approved by Activision to play in the Women X the Women X COD tournament, and it's Toronto. It's a team called the Toronto Tsunami, which I think is a pretty cool name, and it was founded by Overgirl, who is a Toronto Ultra content creator, and the members are Azure Anarchy, Front Desk Lady, Mizu Meridi, Lily PNG, and Emily Rose. I believe that's her name. And it's going to be interesting to see this Women X COD tournament. And as more information becomes available, we will report on that. And last but not least, remember a number of episodes ago I spoke about how the Olympics, yes, that Olympics is introducing esports.
Oh yeah.
Well, they just added a game that people were like, you know what, that actually should have been in the game in the tournament from the beginning, which is Fortnite. However, don't get your hopes up too soon, because Tommy, when you hear, okay, there's going to be a Fortnite aspect to the Olympics, what do you think the game mode is going to be?
It can't have building. It can't, surely not. But yo, I don't know what the event would be, bro. Like a Coliseum.
So you think it's going to be standard battle royale, right?
Yes.
Guess what it isn't.
Okay, what is it then?
Here it is. The competition will be an invitational event and involve 12 players from the Fortnite Champion Series. It will feature a special International Shooting Sports Federation island created in Fortnite, which will be designed to reflect sports shooting competition. Players will be tested on their target aiming accuracy, just as sports shooters would in competition. Now, if you've ever seen the Olympics, think of it as rifle shooting. I think that's what they're aiming for. But I just think it's dumb. I think it was a missed opportunity. I think they should have just had normal battle royale. But
yeah, that's actually stupid.
It's very stupid. It's very dumb. It made no sense to me. And I told Max, and Max was like, this makes no sense. And I was like, yeah. Everybody's scratching their heads because this is dumb. But anyway. That is it for my esports news.
Thanks for that, gentlemen. Let's now get into the discussions. Tell me, do you have anything you want to discuss?
Nothing to discuss other than to say that Bayonetta is forever still the queen of gaming. Game character waifus. Yeah, and that is it. Thank you.
All right. Kojo, please take us away on elaborating on the Redfall discussion.
Okay, so as Max said, Redfall came out earlier May 2nd, and it flopped. And it's a shame because a lot of people, and rightfully so, I guess, a lot of people are like, this is a huge L for Microsoft, you know. And Phil Spencer came out, and I think you mentioned it, Max, or that, you know, this was, the acquisition took place, or the development of the game took place before Microsoft purchased Activision. Like, the game was already under development. And I think Phil Spencer said something along those lines.
That it was too far in for them to do anything, but I personally heard BS on that.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where I wanted to talk about what this means in the larger scheme of things, because everybody's looking at looking at Starfield next and be like, okay, it's up to Starfield to carry everything. And side note, just a side note, so we don't have to comment on it, but it seems that everybody has forgotten about Forza Motorsport. Like, that's not...
No, some people are saying, hey, Forza is going to come in, because I did notice some people say Forza is going to come in, but other people have rightly said, which I agree with, where it's like, yeah, but one, we always get Forza. It's like saying, hey, FIFA's coming in to save EA. It's like, yeah, financially, and those people who love that thing are going to get distracted by that. But the wider audience who are not really into that, the general community, don't give a rat's ass about that, and rightly so. So it's like, for niche players, Forza is a good distraction. But for those who are looking at the bigger picture, Forza is not changing anything, because Forza has always been good. So
yeah,
Forza is just doing what it's normally doing. It's not an unknown entity coming in, adding to the conversation. It's not going to change the conversation, however it performs.
Okay, true. Let me just backtrack a bit. I just found a quote from Phil Spencer about what we were just talking about. And he says, and I quote, when we acquire studios, there's games that are in development when we acquire a studio. And then there are things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. We need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become of Xbox. So, end quote. So, this is basically what he's saying, Max. So, like, they need to do a better job of what she said that they should do. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about like what this means for Xbox. Because again, like I said, people are looking to Starfield now and like, man, Starfield has a lot to prove. If Starfield comes out and flops, then it's what is happening to Bethesda, what is happening to Xbox as a whole. And I urge people to go and watch the Kind of Funny interview with Phil Spencer, because he spoke about a lot of things that I cannot cover, because this episode is going to be
way too long.
It's going to be way too long. But he did say something, and I will he spoke about how like Max said, he said that Phil Spencer says, quote unquote, we are not in the business of out-canceling Sony or out-canceling Nintendo. And he admitted, and he was like, you know what? We lost the last generation, which was the Xbox One and the PS4 period. And everybody can tell you that. Everybody can tell you that. They absolutely lost that one. And it wasn't Phil Spencer's fault because he came in late. But...
yeah, which reminds me, actually, speaking of not it being Phil Spencer's fault, it reminds me of like when I was watching the Legacy Killer HD video, he was talking about how he personally wants so you had Phil Spencer, then you had the person before Phil Spencer, something Harris or Harrison?
The GOAT Don Matrick.
Yes, he's talking about he wants that guy to come back in.
No, wait, Phil Harris was a Sony, Phil Harris was someone else.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm getting the names confused in the different years, but I'm saying that the person before Phil Spencer, he was a hack. And the guy before that hack is the one where he's saying most people are wanting, the guy who oversaw Xbox and Xbox 360, where I can be like, yeah, I sort of see where they're coming from, but I also see where Phil Spencer's coming from, because people are talking about Phil Spencer needs to resign and whatnot, and I'm just like, yeah, even if he does, though, I don't see him doing it without at least putting Xbox in a comfortable position. And what that comfortable position I'm identifying is as him seeing through his vision of what Game Pass is supposed to be and how xCloud is supposed to come into the picture and all of that. And he's also not going to rest until acquisitions are done. When the Blizzard Activision acquisition is taken care of, when xCloud is fully running and Game Pass is what it's supposed to be, I think that's when Phil Spencer is going to be like, okay, I'm tired. I've put you guys on a great platform. Build from here. I'm taking a bow and I'm just enjoying my retirement. Like, what's his name from Nintendo?
Reggie.
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's what Phil Spencer is going to do. So I don't see him taking a bow anytime soon. But with that said, like you said, looking forward, I'm also one of the people looking at Starfield, but I also think looking at Starfield is irrelevant. We have to look beyond Starfield, because let's say at worst, if Starfield tanks, a lot of people are going to be talking. At best, if Starfield does well, does that change anything though? I would say they
give people faith in Bethesda and Microsoft again.
But then I would counter and argue, like, look at the length of time it took for Starfield to be what it is. Like, it's kept getting extensions and extensions, and people and the Bethesda being quiet about it. Whereas, like, is that what we can expect? Is that what's going to be the norm going forward when there's a big project? Like, I think it's not just Starfield. Starfield can be a touchstone or ground zero to build upon. But the next two games after that, AAA games after that, I think are going to be just as important, so we can see the balance of a thing. Like another game I keep forgetting about, Hellblade. This game was announced when the Series X was revealed. What have we seen for it? So it's like things like that, where it's like, what is going on internally? Like, I feel internally, Xbox/Microsoft don't know how to run their studios. And maybe it's because they acquired so many at a short range of time that they didn't properly develop themselves and formulate themselves. And this is something which I saw people way back talk about, where they're like, Xbox needs to be careful with all of these acquisitions. They need to slow down, because if they're trying to compete with Sony with having great IP, Sony didn't just land there overnight. It took years, and Xbox might be acquiring great studios, but if they're not careful, that's all going to be meaningless, because they need to build up to that position where these studios are now running smoothly. When they didn't have Xbox looking over them, these studios had to run a particular way. Now that they are under Xbox, the way they run has to change to align with the Xbox vision and ways of doing things. They can't just say, this is how we've always done things, we're going to continue doing this. Bethesda is a very great example of that. And if Activision Blizzard were also to be absorbed, they would also have to realign themselves with Xbox's vision. And there's a guy called Mystic. He talks about PlayStation news. He said it the best for me when it comes to these acquisitions. He's like, Xbox acquires studios to gain IPs. Sony acquires studios to gain talent. That's the difference between the two. Because Sony has IP and they're like, okay, we've got enough IP in our back pocket. We want to create more IP, but we need the talent to do that. Whereas Microsoft's like, what IP do we have? We have Halo, cool. We have Gears of War, cool. What else do we have? We have Forza, cool. And note that a lot of these things, they didn't make them. They just purchased it off a company who made it. Like how Gears was purchased off Epic, how Halo belonged to Bungie. So the people who were making those games aren't even involved in those games anymore. So Microsoft's out there acquiring IPs, but then when they're acquiring the IPs, the talent who made those IPs are not there anymore. So that's where it's dangerous for them. So I think looking forward, the two biggest things is, what are we going to see going forward? Are we going to see changes? Like, I think Microsoft needs to scale down with announcements. Like, you know how they had the showcase where they announced like 20 odd games or something like that? Like, scale it down. Just announce things when they're ready. Announce things when you want people to get excited for things. You don't need to announce 20, 30 different things, because now you're having everybody's eyes focusing on so many different things. Announce maybe 5 or 6 things. That way people are focused on those things, and the other studios can quietly tinker away on their thing. Fable is another bloody game. Like, bro, so many of them. It irritates me because Microsoft has so many nice IPs under them, which could be interesting games to play, but they're not being managed well. And that really, really irks me. Because just to finish up with what I'm saying, me personally, I play big budget games. Third-party studios, Sony, Microsoft, that's what I play. I don't care about Nintendo. I don't give a flying F about Nintendo. The only game Nintendo makes, which I actually like, is Zelda. All the other games, I don't enjoy them. I've tried them, I don't enjoy them. Zelda is the only game which I actually derive any type of enjoyment from. Nintendo doesn't make games for me, so I don't really bother with them unless they're, I'm going into news and things are happening. But playing that game, I don't do that. So I'm focused on these guys, and that's why I come in. Like, people can call me a hater and say, I want Microsoft to fail. I don't want Microsoft to fail. I want Microsoft to stick around, because I definitely don't want Sony to have control of the market. I don't want anybody to have control of the market. I want healthy competition, because the past has shown us what happens when these companies have control of the market. Nintendo had their arrogant period when Sega came in and knocked them off. Sony had their arrogant period when Microsoft came in and knocked them off, all of that stuff. So we need healthy competition. We need Microsoft to be around. I'm not about this fanboy shit of supporting one company over another, and I'm not about hoping for the downfall of another company. But at the same time, I'm also not about blindly supporting a company even when they're doing dumb shit, which a lot of fanboys do. Which is why there are a lot of guys out there on Twitter and YouTube who piss me off, who are just blind fanboys. I should probably name names, but I'll keep that for another time. But yeah, that's me on looking forward.
Tommy, I said Max was like, what would Starfield do, if it came out and it was good? And I was like, oh, it would give people hope in Bethesda and Microsoft. And you said, not you. What did you mean by that? I want to hear your opinion, because you've been quiet.
About like, why not?
Elaborate.
Okay, so I mean, it's just basically was like, well, I've lost a lot of faith in quite a lot of games and franchises. It's to a point now where I've lost. How can I even put this? Like when a certain game company has let you down so much. Man, it's like South African governments. Any promise that they bring, as well as like gaming companies, any promise that they bring, man, I'm just gonna wait until it's actually out and it's actually doing well. I have zero anticipation anymore, as well as like it's gotten to a point where I don't expect I don't expect highly from AAA companies now anymore. Because to say that, look, let's take who made Hogwarts Legacy?
Warner Bros.
Avalanche Studios.
Yeah, Avalanche, published by Warner.
You see what I'm saying? So like Avalanche Studios, I don't know what else they've ever released. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have easily
Cars 3, Tommy, put some respect on their name.
Cars 3, the hell is that? The fucking Pixar movie.
Yes, put some respect.
Nigga, they made a movie and we're trying to compare them against the game. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's like, since they're just a gaming company, like they got us a very nice game that's very fucking fun to play. At this point in time, I don't care who the studio is anymore. I just want a good game. So
I agree with that. Kojo, there was something you said years ago where it eventually became ringing truth, where you were like, and you say this years ago, before any of this became widespread, before any of this became normalized, when it was rare and unique for this to happen, when you were like, you've stopped pre-ordering games because now you never know what state a game's going to come in. Now it's that's why you're like, you've stopped pre-ordering games because you never know what state the game's going to come in. Whereas in today's day and age, games now come in broken, where they need a day one patch to fix some random other stuff, where even other people are talking about it, where they say you shouldn't order games, and I agree with that. But also, whatever stupid reason, there are always going to be people out there who just see a game, get excited, and like, I'm pre-ordering that. Where it's just like, no, dog, no. Like, keep your money in your breast pocket and make these studios work for your money. But then that's also another thing which people say, where it's like, in as much as we all know the way to reach these studios, these developers, these publishers, is speaking through our wallet, we'll never manage to do that because they're outliers, and the outliers are the majority, who are idiots who are just going to buy anyway. Last year Call of Duty was shit. Well, okay, next year is a new Call of Duty, I'm still buying. Last year's FIFA was shit. Well, next year there's a new FIFA, I'm still buying. So on and so forth.
It's not just, let me just add, sorry, it's not just me saying, it's not just pre-ordering games. I don't buy games that launch now. Like,
yes, no, sorry, yeah, it was the launch part, yeah. Because I was just thinking of, if you pre-order it, you're getting the vanilla version. Whereas when it launches, you can wait and be like, how is it reviewing? What are some of the bugs and fixes it needs? Oh, it doesn't have any of those? Okay, let me go buy. Oh, it has so many of those? Okay, I'm going to sit back. Because another thing which reminds me is that I was watching Super Eye Patch Wolf, I was watching him talking about Final Fantasy 15 and how to get the full Final Fantasy 15 experience, the one Square Enix supposedly wanted, you have to buy all of these DLC and stuff like that, like get the royal version. Where it's just like, what the hell is this? Where to get the actual version of a game, instead of buying the vanilla, you have to wait until there's DLC and all of these other things to get the full edition. Like, that's some BS.
Yeah. Why do you think I always wait until like there's a Game of the Year edition or a definitive edition?
Yeah, I hate that. I never wanted to be part of that, but now I'm slowly getting into that, where it's just like, there's no point for me to get this game now. Let me see what they're going to release with it, how many things they're going to release with it, and then let me get the version which has everything packaged together. That way I'm not buying isolated different things. But I guess it's capitalizing on people's FOMO of, like, for example, Horizon. You buy Horizon, now there's going to be a DLC, then you have to buy the DLC, as opposed to saying, I'm just going to wait for the Game of the Year edition where the DLC is packaged in, and then I get to experience the full game.
Yeah.
The gaming industry is broken. And
it is.
Absolutely.
There's no one really regulating how it's supposed to go and all of that stuff. Like, those E3 people who are supposed to regulate it, they don't, because some of these companies are part of that organization. So obviously they're not going to regulate themselves.
I just want to say one last thing about this. Well, for my part, about this whole Xbox thing. Like, when I was reading the quotes and listening to the quotes from Phil Spencer, he sounded a little defeatist. I'm not gonna lie,
Oh yeah, I heard that as well from people who are also analyzing and saying the same thing.
Yeah, he sounded very like I said. He said in that quote, "We lost the voice generation to losing the Xbox generation, where everybody built their digital library of games." And end quote. Then he said the whole thing about we are not out consoling, we can't out console Xbox and Nintendo. And he also said, and I quote, "There is no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people are selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen." End quote. And he was also saying things like, people believe that if we just make games and create games, all of a sudden people are just going to get up and buy an Xbox. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. But then it is that way because you establish a history. Like, I saw somebody try and support what Phil Spencer was saying, and granted, they did have it was a genuine arguing point where they were like, look, what Phil Spencer is saying is correct. It's like, and they used an example of saying, yeah, when people think about console game, they think about Sony. The same way when people think about handheld or mobile gaming, they think about Nintendo. Hence why Sony pulled out the PSP, because they could not compete with Nintendo, and they just said, screw it. But then I argue against that, because with Nintendo purposely said, okay, before the Switch came out, they purposely said, we've got the DS and we've got our console thing. They are separate entities. We're going to have full-fledged games on our handheld devices, which you can never experience on these things, and unique experiences for our handheld devices. Sony tried that, but they didn't go full in on that. A lot of the PSP, Vita, Go, whichever version, more often than not, was a companion piece to a PlayStation, which I think was dumb. So I understand where Phil Spencer is saying, look, we're not going to out console them. We're not even trying to do that. We are very much focused on Game Pass and bringing Game Pass on every platform available. Like I think Game Pass will be available on a mobile device. Game Pass is going to be available on their own devices. Game Pass is going to be available on PC. Game Pass will probably be available on a Nintendo device, some were down in the futures on the Steam Deck or whatever. Because when Game Pass was announced and released, and Phil Spencer mentioned that their competition is Google and Apple, that's when I was like, okay, down the line, I can see these guys saying, let's reduce hardware. Let's stop selling and creating hardware. Let's just focus on the software because it's at no losses to us. And let's bring our software onto different platforms. So I can see them fighting on that front, and where I could see the CMA saying, no, these guys are going to dominate cloud gaming, because there's something with xCloud where it becomes a bigger thing, where Xbox's whole thing pivots on the cloud and how their games and their system can be tapped from any devices out there, tablets, phones, consoles, or PCs, or handheld devices, or whatever. So I definitely think, re-expressing things again, I definitely think Phil Spencer is trying to battle on an area of Game Pass, get more subscription onto their thing. Because, like, you know how you've got like Google, Spotify, YouTube, and all of these things, where we're in a subscription war. When you have people subscribe to your thing, you can now move them around in your ecosystem. The same way Apple does with their Apple devices, where when you have one Apple device, it can work for all other things, but then it's not really compatible with anything outside of their ecosystem. I can see Microsoft pushing for a similar thing where they have this Xbox ecosystem. And once you come into their ecosystem, it's so comfortable, so nice that you're like, why should I leave it? Although, with that, all of that said, I feel like Game Pass is a double-edged sword, in the sense of it's very convenient, very nice, but it makes gamers lazy, in the sense of when a game comes out, it's like, is it on Game Pass? No, it's not. Okay, I'm not going to touch it, because they don't want it makes gamers risk averse. And being a risk averse gamer, you're not really committing to the game in the sense of what, like, you were the one who told me this, Kojo, and I researched for myself and it was correct. Of AAA games like your Elden Ring and whatnot are never going to go on Game Pass because they're losing too much money from doing that. So Game Pass is only going to be having AA games from studios who don't know what's going to happen with their game, if they're going to be a success, and Microsoft's own IP. Hence why Microsoft is out there trying to acquire as many IPs as they can to make Game Pass more appealing, to make the games on Game Pass more appealing, as opposed to having games going out of circulation. But anyway, with all of that said, I feel we've hammered the point of the future looks dubious for Microsoft. Starfield is an important milestone, but it's not the end-all be-all. What comes after, I feel, is more important, and we'll see in which direction Microsoft's going to go. I feel like Starfield is only important in so much as not really from the fans' side, because fans have been taking so many L's that another L is not going to change anything, and one W is not going to change anything. But for fans, but for Microsoft, I think it buys them time, or it puts more pressure. I think that's the only important thing. If Starfield is great, it gives them more time and room to breathe. If Starfield is bad, pressure is piled upon them, and people are going to be like, come on Microsoft, do something. You know, like that meme of that guy with a stick poking something and it's like, do something.
Yeah. Well, last thing, and then we'll move on. Just 2 seconds. Well, we will see in June. Is it June the 12th?
11th.
Yeah, we will see what Microsoft has to offer, and I think they have a lot riding on this presentation. Like a lot. No.
It better yield good things.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what I was saying of, I hope they're not going to come out blasting with all of these different announcements. I hope they scale it down and say, we're going to focus your eyes on these 3, 4, or 5 games, instead of saying we've got 20 different things on the line. Because like, oh, you got 20 different things, like, well, let's add them to the other 20 different things. Like, show us your focus, show us you know what you're doing. Because that's the thing when we get a PlayStation and a Nintendo showcase, they're very focused on what they want you to focus on. They don't want you to get distracted with other stuff, and Microsoft needs to start doing the same thing. So I hope with this coming showcase that it's a very whittled down showcase, as in we don't need to see many things. Show us a few things, but show us strong things.
It's 60 minutes. So it's going to be 60 minutes plus Starfield, which would be another 30 minutes. So yeah,
we're gonna see how that turns out. And I'm telling you right now, they're gonna be fanboys like, yeah, that was so good.
Of course.
Hate fanboys.
But anyway, yep, I'm done.
All right, that was a long segment. So wrapping things up, let's get into the news blitz. As the topic of this episode has been, we're still sticking with Microsoft. So Microsoft have announced a Game Pass referral program where subscribers can give up to 5 friends access to Game Pass for 14 days. Only catch is that these friends must be new to Game Pass to redeem the free trial. Then in other news, New Zealand actor Carl Urban is in final stage talks to act as Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat movie sequel. Some might reckon...
No, I was just hyping things up, so I continue.
Some might recognize Urban from movies Dread, Thor Ragnarok, Star Trek, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and series such as The Boys. Then, in oddity news, the Strong National Museum of Play is including the following 4 games in its World Video Game Hall of Fame: The Last of Us Part 1, Wii Sports, Computer Science, and Barbie Fashion Designer.
Shout out to Barbie.
Oh yeah. These games were selected based on a variety of criteria that included influence and popularity over time. The 4 beat out Age of Empires, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Angry Birds, FIFA, GoldenEye 007, NBA 2K, Quake, and Wizardry. Make of that as you will. Lastly, Hogwarts Legacy has sold 15 million copies and generated $1 billion. That's a billion with a B, dollars. To contextualize that, Elden Ring and Cyberpunk 2077 have each sold over 20 million copies since their respective releases from over a year ago. With that said, I think it would be interesting if games would start sharing their budgets the way movies normally do, because I would love to understand the budgets going behind these games and what the expectations are, how many copies is considered successful and all of that. In general, typically we say 3 to 5 million copies sold is a successful video game in general. But if you think about that, that then contextualizes a game like God of War Ragnarok, which sold 11 million copies as a PS5 exclusive. Pretty impressive. But yeah, that's it for the News Blitz. And I believe that is us wrapping up. Unless one of you fine gentlemen have anything to say before I close us off.
Nay.
Just 2 things real quick. 1, Maxwell mentioned Carl Urban starred in Dread. If you haven't seen Dread, go watch Dread. It's freaking phenomenal. Awesome movie. So awesome, so underrated, and it's a shame we never got a sequel because it was so damn good. Second of all,
movie is underrated.
It's very underrated. Second of all, FIFA didn't get inaugurated. That is a crime. That is a crime against humanity. But anyway, that's...
All right, so everyone, thanks for joining us on another episode. Make sure you like and subscribe, or I'm going to come out there and find you. Whichever is applicable for your preferred platform, we make sure that we're everywhere. Otherwise, if you have any comments, suggestions, or you want to holler at us, please feel free to do so in the comments. We do reply. Otherwise, that's all for this week. We'll catch you again next week. Thank you and goodbye.